Welcome back. Time now to do a little analysis of what happened on Election Day here in the state and across the country as well. Joining me, Channel 3's chief political reporter, Susan Raff, and CT Insider columnist and senior editor, Dan Haar. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you.
So let me start with you, Dan. Some changes in the state legislature, and supermajority is the big word.
Supermajority, super duper majority in the Senate. The Senate will have 25 to 11, and that is not only a supermajority, veto-proof for what Governor Lamont does, but it's also a Hartley-proof supermajority because Joan Hartley from Waterbury has traditionally bucked the party, especially on financial issues. They now don't need her vote even for an override.
Right, and Lisa Seminara, a veteran lawmaker, lost to Paul Honig. So that was the one seat that Democrats picked up in the Senate, which gives them that supermajority.
And when we see that, and one of the things that's always interesting to me when we look at, budget time and things like that, you have a lot of people all from the same party butting heads and fighting over how to get something done. That will continue. That dynamic of different ideas within the Democratic Party and from the governor's office, that's going to be status quo and maybe even stronger now.
Stronger.
It's interesting how the rest of the country and different states went in different directions. Connecticut Democrats put their heels in, and now they have more members in the House and Senate. The House, they picked up 6 seats. One has already been lost. However, there's undecided. So they still did very well in the House as well.
Importantly, the House does have that 101 vote threshold. So the House and the Senate can both ignore the governor. This means that if they want to break the spending caps and they get their caucuses together, they can do it. The governor last year had the ability to stop it because the House didn't have that veto-proof majority.
But if you look at the guardrails, which passed during a very bipartisan legislature, some would argue that, you need a healthier mix. I think they lost a good Republican, and that is Holly Cheeseman, who was very bipartisan. She was on the Bond Commission. She helped pass the Tri-Share program, which was a daycare initiative to get businesses, the state, and parents a lot of respect on both sides of the aisle. So, I think, ultimately you want a little bit of a healthier mix in the legislature.
And that race, of course, down in the East Lyme area, but also in Fairfield County, there were some close ones, and up in Litchfield County as well, some kind of surprising results, right?
Right, and it's interesting to find out, why. What happened to Holly Cheeseman? Was it, why didn't Republicans support her? Were people voting on one ticket? I had heard maybe her party wasn't, necessarily supporting her.
She put out a picture of herself with her sign and with a Harris Walls sign, and the party had to tell her to take it down, right? So it is not the case that she got swept up in the anti-Trump fervor. It is that the Trump voters didn't vote for her in East Lyme, and they do exist. So getting to Fairfield County, Nick Simmons spent an awful lot of money in that 36th Senate race, and as with the rest of the state and the nation, the Democrats simply didn't show up in number. Now, it's impossible to compare to previous because it was redistricted, and so we don't know what the previous numbers were, but those Democrats didn't show up across the state, and that hurt some people, including Nick Simmons and Rob Blanchard.
And in a record year where they had more opportunities to vote, right? We had early voting for 2 weeks, and now, obviously, the No Excuse Absentee Ballot initiative passed. But there were more opportunities to vote this year than ever, so why did Democrats not show up?
Well, Dan, there's three theories on that, right?
There are three possible reasons. One is that the Democrats did show up, and that independent or unaffiliated voters went Republican, and that Republicans lost other voters. Another, that's a little complicated, but it's a circular theory of shifting. Another is that there simply wasn't the excitement for Kamala Harris that there was for Biden, and also note that Hillary Clinton had the lower totals too. That's the sexist, not racist. That's the sexist theory, which I subscribe to, and it's possible that just in the mix, Trump voters stayed steady, and that this was a normal year because everybody was mailed a ballot in 2020 and not this year. So that Trump voters stayed steady. Democrats didn't mail in ballots because they didn't have them.
Were there any other results that really surprised you, Susan?
No, I think the Holly Cheeseman, but yes, given her how she portrayed herself in trying to be more moderate with unaffiliated voters, I don't think there were necessarily all. I think the Seminara race was that she lost was significant, another one who's been there a long time. But I don't think there were any huge surprises. I mean, you look at Senator May Flexer, that was a very tight race. It's my understanding in the last final hours they got busloads of UConn students to come out and support her. But she's come close before. I think it was a nail-biter just 2 years ago. So, you know, but big surprises, I wouldn't say that.
In Seminara's race, Paul Honig, the Democrat, I think only fell 150 votes short last time. So, you know, that's in the margin of error race anyway, going in.
Only a couple minutes left. Let's talk national politics quick. Jahana Hayes expanding her margin over Logan. Were you surprised?
No, and I think Jahana Hayes also said to me early on in this election, she said, you know, the time for George Logan to have done well would have been 2 years ago, and national Republicans were pouring in a lot of money. They withdrew money in the final weeks of the campaign. I think the reproductive rights issue is huge for Connecticut voters. But, you know, she made a point, and I think she's right. You don't get elected 4 times by fluke. Right? So people like her. I think they vote for her, and she wants everyone to know that she won, not by 2,000 votes this time, but by 25,000.
And you wrote a column about the national results.
But she won by 40,000 4 years ago.
1 minute left. You wrote a column about the national results. What should people in Connecticut make of what happened nationally?
I think immigration was a much bigger deal. I think Kamala Harris's, Vice President Harris's inability to answer questions was a big deal. I think woke issues, especially transgender issues, the Democrats just waved it off and said, that's a non-issue. And to a lot of us, it is a non-issue. But guess what? It is an issue among a lot of people that are voting, and especially in the ethnic communities. And so that hurt her. All 3 of those things hurt her.
Well, it is certainly quite a time to be a political reporter. And we appreciate both of you being with us, and hopefully we'll have you back again soon.
Yeah, we're going to do. We're going to buckle our seatbelts and go for the ride.
Is there sleep to be had?
As she was leaving, Jahana Hayes said to me, we all better hydrate.
Yeah, hydrate.
So maybe that's the answer. Buckle your seatbelts and hydrate.
How about sleep? Is there any sleep to be had?
Dan Haar, Susan Raff, thanks for being with us once again. We'll have you back. That is CT24 for this week. CBS Sunday Morning is coming up next. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll, of course, meet you back here in Studio A next Sunday morning.